Hey, hello everybody. I'm Howard Berger from Realcomm, and I am happy to be here with two of my most valued colleagues and also dear friends. I'm here with Tom Shircliff and Rob Murchison, co-founders of Intelligent Buildings, and their roots go back more than 20 years, and even further with us at Realcomm. I can't think of any two guys I'd rather have in my trench, in the battle, than Tom and Rob.
Likewise, Howard.
Likewise, absolutely.
So, what do you think? How did it go?
Well, a lot of AI, a lot of sustainability.
And a big announcement from the GSA.
Big announcement. Yep. Do you want to just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So, Tom, you fill in the blanks, but it was almost 12, 13 years ago that the GSA was walking the floor, 15 years ago here at Realcomm.
2009, what?
2009.
Yeah.
And they were looking to do something around data and smart stuff in a building. And fast forward.
So it was Larry Melton. He was assistant commissioner.
Yeah.
GSA.
Larry Melton. And fast forward.
Well, wait. He walked in, and I'm saying, like, who is this guy? Something facilities. And I said, thinking, what are you doing here? So I introduced myself.
I'm with the government, and I'm here to...
Yeah. So I introduced myself. He said, yeah, I'm just trying to learn about how to make our buildings smart. And I said, okay, come here. Let me show you around a little bit. And made our way over to you.
And that was also, at that time, was a stimulus package had gone through. And what's really great about the stewardship of the GSA is whenever there were those stimulus moments, they really were forward-looking. Back then it was integration and open protocols, and then it became analytics, and now taking it even to the next level. So that's been really great, I'd say, almost as a citizen. And the other cool thing about that is, they have a little bit lower risk profile. So they can do things that we all should be doing and want to do, and kind of pave the way in some ways. So that's been fun to watch also.
Been great students, yeah.
And so, for those of the people that are watching live that may not have been at the announcement yesterday, the head honcho, Robin Carnahan, flew in from Washington, D.C., and made at Realcomm announcement that the GSA was investing $80 billion just in smart buildings.
And they announced that at our general session. So it was a big lead up to that. It had to be very, very hush-hush. Robin came in with her entourage. Flew in to give ostensibly a 10-minute talk, which fortunately she expanded a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was actually an excellent, just a fantastic presentation. She ended up hanging out with us for part of the day.
Right.
Really, I think she really enjoyed meeting, getting involved with the community, meeting folks. It was a great experience. Thank you guys for showgunning that.
Well, that was great. And also you mentioned being part of the community. And I will tell you, we've been 21 years here, and as much as ever, I heard people talking about community today. Not just the stacks and jewels and the things that are really incredible to give back on, but just the relationships and the collegiality. I mean, I don't know what it is about this year, but people really felt it and appreciated it.
I felt it too.
And I would add, Howard, it's interesting if you sort of go to the next chapter and beyond the hype, the theme of your show this year, right? GSA is way beyond the hype. They're
proving it out.
They're doing things. But one thing has stayed constant, and that's the data. The data back then, we were walking the floor with Larry, it was at the core of a smart building was about data. And here we are fast forward, and it's still about the data. There's just a lot of other stuff that's driving it.
Yeah, I think AI turbocharged that, right? Because we were joking earlier today that some of us have been guilty in the past of saying, you've got to get the data. And they say, for what? You just got to get the data. and now we're really seeing much more outcome-based, and AI makes it indisputable what you can do with the data.
What you can do with it, but also I think it kind of motivated a lot of organizations that may have instinctively known that the data was important, but they never really could get quite around to getting their own data house in order.
Yeah.
And with the AI has kind of overlaid a reality check on that, and they're actually doing stuff.
And now there's a scramble for it. And Rob and I were talking earlier in the booth today how just talk about over the years, we used to get the data, we would send a person on site to look at what systems were there and the model number, and we would do an inventory that way. And now we know it can produce this data. Now, fast forward, literally, we're clicking a button with AI.
It's auto-sensing. Yeah.
And we are seeing the model number, the firmware, the exposed data points. I mean, it's really just in that span that we've watched those services change. Amazing.
Yeah, amazing what we can do now with the technology versus what we did 10 years ago.
Just in something simple like inventory. I mean, not even
eliminating all the
getting use
manual,
case.
a lot of the manual repetitive
Yeah,
stuff.
the idea that you can automatically inventory your building one time and continuously.
Well, onboarding was the expensive. I mean, that was the that was the killer expensive part.
Yeah.
Now that has that's progressed.
I had a CIO talk about his sort of 3-point AI plan, and it was really funny. It syncs to what we're thinking. Is number one, he said data, just like what we're talking about. If you don't even get the data, you're not even having a conversation.
Yeah.
And the second piece was, he said something interesting, off-the-shelf solutions. So I'm not going to invent my own AI. I'm going to get the data. I'm going to let people do that. And the third thing was interesting, just to give people comfort. He goes, I'm going to spend a lot of money training people on what to do with it, the prompt engineering idea internally. Mm-hmm. So it was really interesting. We just talked about getting the data, but then the other end of the bookend was you still have to have a purpose, an outcome, subject matter expertise. You've got to manipulate and command AI still.
I think, especially with AI, not as much with data. You could pull together a data science program with a couple of data folks. I think with AI, you almost have to upskill the entire organization or everyone
That's exactly
who is, everyone who is interested in being upskilled.
Or have somebody do it for you.
Right.
Well, have somebody do it for
Either
you.
way,
Well,
either way, yeah.
But you have to create the environment.
Yep.
And I think that educational component piece is huge. I think that, having kind of an enterprise consciousness about this, we have to embark on on a learning process. I just thought it was really interesting, and I keep bringing this up, when Sandeep Dave from CBRE talked about the hackathon that he held. On AI use cases. I'm hearing more and more folks are doing things like that, but the effect that had, because those were not data, IT, technology folks.
Right.
Those were business analysts. Those were folks in the organization from finance and marketing and other areas that we're starting to understand that it takes a creative way, a different way of thinking to start applying these new technologies.
Right.
And that's where the gold is. That's how, if you want to boost enterprise value, boost the intellectual capacity and the IP in your organization.
And I would add that the AI, as we think about it, I mean, data, AI, sustainability, it all goes back to one thing, dollars, right? In the commercial real estate space, if it's not going to lead to dollars in some way, then those things don't get funded.
Yes.
And one of the interesting things that you mentioned, Stacks and Jules, shout out to those folks. One of the interesting things about AI is it's shifting the equation on the amount of automation that can take place in the operations of a building. So as we increase the technology density that goes inside of our buildings, and that's happening. I mean, when you and I first started the company over 20 years ago, we said, oh gosh, this technology is so complex. It's gotten a lot more complex than it was then. This complexity shouldn't lead to more people running. It should lead to the same amount or more efficiencies. And AI is a core aspect of that happening, and that's the way the money is going to have to work.
Yeah, I mean, because no matter what you do, you have to show that whatever a technology initiative is going to drive value.
Yep.
It's going to translate to bottom line, and the faster you can do that.
It's funny you say that about value creation, because I just can't get this story out of my head that Meta's stock went up the other day when they simply announced they had a contract to buy GPUs from NVIDIA because they were going to have it.
Yep. Yeah.
Just that processing capability. But we can extend that, like you said, even to your own company's value creation. If you are doing something efficient with AI, you should be creating value for your organization.
I think I think people are starting to understand that. Not fully yet, but if anybody who has been playing around with AI,
Yeah.
in the,
Yeah. Yeah.
whether it's on in productivity or, no matter what the application is, kind of starts to get a real understanding of, this stuff, I can do a lot with this
You
stuff.
can do a lot. And another news point about that I was struck by, I can't get it in my head, is I think it was last year when PwC announced they were going to spend $1 billion internally on learning how to use and prompt AI.
Yeah.
Just really talk about at least betting on value creation.
Well, I mean, and just an indication of how fast things are moving. So when we started putting together the program for this conference in January timeframe, December-January timeframe, I said we got to do a session on prompt engineering for commercial, something
Yes.
applied toward commercial risk. So I put together a session on that. It was one of the first ones. I said,
Yeah.
everybody's going to flock to that.
Yeah.
As we got closer to the conference, actually the prompt engineering is now being done by the AI.
It's moving that fast.
So
isn't
it's moving that fast.
Generatively.
Yeah, it generates its own prompts now. So you got to stay up with this stuff.
Yeah.
You got to, it creates opportunities for us as well. I mean, lots of opportunities. I think a lot of folks, going back to the big GSA announcement, a lot of folks go look at AI as this thing that I have to do because I'm getting pressure by my organization. When in reality, a lot of things we're already doing are enabled by AI. It's
Yeah.
just we didn't realize that was happening. We just need to use those things to become more productive in the operations of our buildings.
And we're having that conversation a lot of times because of you guys. So I just want to say from both of us, thank you for all that you do and the conference does to facilitate the conversation and the relationships. It's really become a place to build off of those conversations. And do
I
something.
thank you for saying that. I feel it. I don't think I felt it more than this year. The sense of community was huge. The sense of sharing, and I really owe a lot. I think we owe a lot of this to the efforts of Intelligent Buildings over the years. So
A lot more people. Thank you.
yeah. So with that, hey, great conversation. I'm getting the hand gestures that we got to wrap this up. So with that, it's a wrap.